Daily, they're part of our meals, adding nutrients the body requires, and on the flip side, they drive economic growth as a result of the growing demand for meat, dairy, and other animal products. The livestock sector remains a critical pillar for national development. And last year, the formulation of the National Livestock Growth Acceleration Strategy, targeting 2025 to 2035, was designed to increase the livestock sector's contribution to GDP from $32 billion to $74 billion. Now, these measures are designed to move the sector from subsistence practices to a structured commercial value chain covering meat, dairy, hides and skins, not leaving out the promotion of ranching and modern animal husbandry, improved veterinary services and access to financing for livestock farmers. No doubt, the sector plays a critical role in food and nutrition security, but there are challenges ranging from disease outbreaks, feed shortages and poor infrastructure to drive enhanced productivity. For millions of Nigerians who depend on livestock for their livelihoods, the reforms raise key questions about implementation, land use, climate adaptation, and inclusion of small-scale pastoralists. Can livestock turn into a driver of prosperity while addressing insecurity, environmental pressure, and food security? Well, tonight we explore the livestock sector, how to harness the potential into prosperity. Our guest is the Minister of Livestock Development, Dr. Idi Mukhtar Meha. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguele. Before we delve into the thrust for tonight, let's begin with the latest developments from across the country. Vice President Kashim Shettima has visited Kwara State in the aftermath of the tragic terrorist attack that claimed over 100 lives in Woro and Nuku communities of Kayama local government area of Kwara State. Aisha Awakari reports.
President Kashim Shettima, who was received at the Babatunde Idiagbo International Airport in Ilorin by the Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak, assured the people of the state of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's resolve towards ensuring that those responsible for the terrorist attack at Woro and Nuku communities are tracked, apprehended, and brought to justice. The Vice President explained that efforts are also ongoing by the federal government to provide support to victims and coordinate security responses in the affected communities.
I'm here fundamentally to commiserate with the government and people of Kwara and the people of Kayama in particular over the tragic loss of lives, and to reassure the good people of the state of harmony that our prayers are with you, our empathy is with you. And the DG of NEMA, the President had instructed her to mobilize all resources in partnership with the State Emergency Management Agency to provide succor and support to our distressed communities.
The response of the federal government has been very swift. As confirmed by the local government chairman, troops are already on ground. The Operation Savannah Shield is in motion.
Scores of persons were massacred and many houses set ablaze in Woro and Nuku communities in Kayama local government area of Kwara State by terrorists, allegedly for refusing to surrender to extremists who preached a strange doctrine to them. Aisha Abubakari Yahaya, NTA News.
Imo State's contributions to Nigeria's political, intellectual and economic development in the past 5 decades has been described as a milestone to the nation's progress. Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this during the Golden Jubilee celebration of Imo State at 50. Let's hear from State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila.
50 years of impact in the modern political history, restoring discipline, planning, and institutional strength to governance. Unveiling of a compendium of the state's journey so far, conferment of honors to deserving individuals who contributed in the development of the state, was a moment to behold.
And so my first impression on arriving in Imo State this time was of how Governor Uzodimma has earned the sobriquet of infrastructure governor.
And one thing that you have done that has pleased our heart so much is the way you have unified everybody in the state.
That he has taken Imo State to Nigeria and the world and brought Nigeria and the world to Imo State. I can't describe him better than that.
The past 50 years has been good for Imo people. There's no doubt about that. And it's not a coincidence.
We owe a debt of gratitude to that generation of pioneers who rolled up their sleeves to ensure this state did not fall into its cradle. To be fair, every administration that has presided over the affairs of Imo State since 1976 made one form of contribution or the other.
Vice President Kashim Shettima assured Imo State of its frontline seat at the national table.
Imo's skill, human capital, and tertiary institutions remain among its most strategic assets for long-term economic leadership. Imo's industrial potential is equally significant. The state is endowed with the highest quantum of gas deposit in this country. Over the years, investments in palm oil mills, cashew processing, and small-scale manufacturing, the foundation for industrial growth. Today, renewed emphasis on agro-processing, fabrication, renewable energy, mineral processing, tourism, hospitality, and the digital economy reflects a forward-looking industrial policy designed for shared prosperity and competitiveness.
The Vice President highlighted Imo's intellectual and cultural influence, particularly through Chief Flora Nwapa, who he described as the mother of modern African literature, who gave African women a literary voice at a time when silence was expected of them. From Owerri, Jubilee, NTA News.
The Minister of State for Regional Development, Uba Megari Amadu, has inaugurated and handed over 3 bridges in Alkeri Local Council to Bauchi State. The bridges serving as major links to parts of the northeast washed away by flood were reconstructed by the Northeast Development Commission. The bridge at Kalanjanga is 45 meters, Bara 300 meters, and Tashanturmi 200 meters. The NEDC newly reconstructed bridges were accompanied by expanded completely connecting roads and shoulders. The minister was accompanied on the inauguration of the completed and the inspection of ongoing NEDC projects in Bauchi State by the Deputy Governor, Mohammed Awal Jatau, Chairman, Managing Director and Executive Directors of the Commission. The Nigerian Immigration Service has dismissed reports claiming that a region of the country has been disqualified from passport issuance, describing them as false and misleading. In a statement, the service Public Relations Officer Akinshola Akinlabi explains that the service is implementing a phased onboarding system to migrate passport offices, including those in foreign nations, to a centralized production framework to enhance efficiency, integrity and security. He added that passport offices in several northeast, north central and southeast states, as well as 35 international stations across the world, have already been successfully onboarded and scheduled for completion within the first quarter of 2026. The Nigerian Immigration Service urges the public to disregard speculative narratives capable of creating unnecessary tension. Now, in recognition of his outstanding contributions to the development of arts, culture and the creative industry, the World Crafts Council has awarded Otumba Olusegun Runshewe the icon of crafts, culture and hospitality in Africa. The award was conferred on him during the second World Crafts Forum held in Kuwait, wherein the council president, Saad Al-Kaddoumi, commended Runshewe for his unwavering commitment to the preservation, promotion and sustainability of handcrafts in Africa. Otumba Olusegun Runshewe is the immediate past Director General of the National Council for Arts and Culture. President Bola Tinubu congratulates Abdulrazak Isa, the co-founder and chairman of Watersmith Petroman Oil Limited, on his 65th birthday. In a statement, the president describes the entrepreneur as a business leader with the Midas touch, who helped transform an indigenous company into a global brand in the oil and gas sector, making Nigeria a fertile place for investments and reinforcing faith in the nation's business environment. The president also acknowledges Isa's philanthropic endeavors in support of science education and encourages him to remain a lodestar and an inspiration. All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll look at ways to harness the livestock sector for prosperity. Thank you for staying tuned. Nigeria's livestock sector is receiving renewed attention as the federal government pushes for reforms aimed at boosting productivity and expanding economic opportunities. Yusuf Jika takes us through some of the reforms being carried out within the livestock value chain to address challenges.
Nigeria, with its rich and diverse landscape, is a destination to many viable breeds and species of livestock. Although many believe the nation has been operating at a rudimentary scale in livestock production and development, and estimated to be worth about $34 billion with a huge potential for surplus. Climate change, environmental degradation, belief in local breeds, inadequate feed and fodder, as well as conflict between farmers and herders have over the years stunted growth in the sector. In a bid to provide long-lasting solutions to a series of challenges and ensure the nation's livestock sector compete favorably with the global giants, the present government is leaving no stone unturned in transforming the industry, matching policies with action, so the resuscitation of key livestock research institutes in VOM and Shika, construction of model veterinary hospitals across the country and livestock service centers, strengthening animal health system through well-coordinated vaccination exercise, vamping number of grazing reserves, construction of modern abattoirs, and high-level bilateral talks to invest in key livestock value chains with investor confidence as top-notch.
Consistent financial investment in livestock farming is important for modernizing the sector, as this will increase participation of Nigerian entrepreneurs and private sector in the value chain. Well, these are the views of stakeholders as they speak on turning the livestock farming sector into a booming multi-million naira economy. Larry Belay reports.
The federal government seeks to elevate the livestock sector to a primary engine for economic growth, aiming to transform it from marginal activity into a major contributor to GDP. Emphasis on modernization, reducing farmer-herder conflicts, and leveraging private sector partnerships.
We'll be able to do proper ranching, and even for the poultry, we'll be able to do automated systems.
Also, the high-quality products, livestock products, will be made available to our citizens, thereby enhancing the better health status of the Nigerian citizen, and it will reduce total reliance on livestock imports.
The target is an industry that contributes $74 billion to the nation's GDP by 2035, moving from subsistence pastoralism to commercial, sedentary ranching, and intensive farming systems to boost food security. In Lagos, Larry Belay, NTA News.
All right, we have the Honorable Minister of Livestock Development, Dr. Idi Mukhtar Miha. Thank you so much for joining us, Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Good evening, Nigeria.
All right, let me start by commending your efforts, which we see almost on a daily basis, you moving across states to ensure that this ministry thrives based on what the Renewed Hope agenda has set for it. So tell us, What is the nation contending with at the moment in the livestock industry?
Thank you very much. It's public knowledge by now that the ministry was just created on precisely 9th, just precisely before 2024. We're just about 15, 16 months of age. However, since the creation of the ministry, we have done a lot of branding, moving about all over these geopolitical zones, talking to state governments, talking to private sector, ranging from fodder producers, commercial fodder cultivators, the red meat industry, the dairy sector, all animal species, including the Poultry Farmers Association of Nigeria, those who are in apiculture, rabbitry, goat, sheep, large ruminants like cattle, people who are also engaged in rescuing donkeys, horses, as well as camels. So everything what I've mentioned about is what we've been doing, trying to wake up the sector, trying to also emphasize that, look, today there is a new sector that has been abandoned for the past 64 years until the federal government, under the able leadership of Mr. President, created this ministry to mainstream the livestock sector. We've done a lot of investigations, a lot of analysis, spanning probably in the last 20 to 30 years, every other document and policy issues that were done or pontificated on livestock. We reviewed them and have come out with what we call the National Livestock Growth and Relations Strategy, as well as also working with the International Livestock Research Institute of Nairobi in Kenya. We've come out with the National Livestock Master Plan. And these two documents are very, very fundamental in the transformation journey that we have embarked upon. And just like the writer said, we have now valued the livestock, the baseline of about $32 billion, and that we have a very, very aggressive and ambitious plan to grow this sector to $74 billion. Now imagine in a country, no matter what other resources you have, about $32 billion has been out of the formal economy. Imagine the number of animal resources we have in this country. Imagine the number of livestock markets we have in this country, about 815 livestock markets all over the country. Imagine the number of people driving their livelihoods from this sector. Imagine the potentials of this sector. Imagine the critical function of this sector. Yet, this sector has remained outside the formal arena until this ministry was created strategically by Mr. President. And that goes to show that really, if you look at other countries that are far less endowed than Nigeria in livestock resources, because they have been able to see, to get that wisdom, strategically to transform their livestock sector, is contributing much more to their GDP than the Nigerian part.
All right, Honourable Minister, if I'll come in there, the National Livestock Growth Acceleration Strategy, it's one designed, of course, to unlock this potential you're talking about and address challenges. But I'd like to hear, because Nigeria, the target of $74 billion, I would say that's ambitious but doable based on what you have stated. But donors and partners have strategic roles to play to support the country harness this potential. What's the synergy you're getting?
Thank you very much. The strategy is structured in such a way that there's a role for the federal government in terms of policy direction, in terms of guidance, in terms of standards, in terms of regulation in the sector. Then, of course, the livestock resources and land resources are domiciled with the state government. So invariably, the state government also have very, very critical role to play in turning that strategy, into practical gains for the country. And since that strategy was launched, and don't forget that after we crafted the strategy, we had an opportunity to address the National Economic Council under the able leadership of Mr. Vice President, and that council approved the strategy. So that for us is a singular, most important political commitment that we have gotten. Now the governors of this country have all keyed into the strategy. Now, beyond that, again, we are not also leaving the third tier of government, the local governments. They also have a role to play. Because invariably, wherever you're going to have ranches, we're going to have communal ranches, we're going to have peri-urban producers, you're going to have small ruminant ranches, you're going to have whatever you want to have about animals. Invariably, they have to be domiciled in local governments. So they also have a role to play. Aside from that, there is also a huge opportunity for livestock, because livestock actually, I mean, for private sector are going to be basically the main drivers of this transformation. Remember, the entire livestock resources today are in private hands, whether peri-urban producers, modern ranchers, or pastoral owners, or other form of people who have some form of livestock or the other. So therefore, it is there. We have also seen, and of course we have gotten a lot of appetite, a lot of commitment from international development partners. And let me say this, only yesterday we had a very, very robust and productive discussions with African Development Bank. And this, for us, means a lot in driving this sector. So we have gotten this synergy. We have gotten almost all the multilateral organizations that are represented in this country have shown that appetite to work with us. Actually, for them, this has been the most singular, important step that has been taken by the federal government at the federal level in the creation of the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development. Remember, Nigeria is the largest market in Africa. We have the 5th largest livestock resources on the continent. And therefore, looking at our number, it means a lot for the multilateral organization. And also don't forget that in the recent past, we've had a lot of flashpoints arising between farmers and herders. Farmer had a crisis, ignited because of competition, acute competition for resources. This ministry is saddled with responsibility of amicably settling that conflict, making sure that, look, this country belongs to all of us. Livestock, crop cultivation, there's a symbiotic relationship. So the fight today, we know the genesis of the fight, we know the root cause of that crisis, of that disharmony. We want to now come in and build peace, build bridges across these two vocational demographics. So, and that's what we've been doing. And along the line also, we have been able to also wake up the private sector. Today we have very, very strong commitment from the red meat industry, red meat sector, and we've been doing a lot of talking. We've been doing a lot of engagements with the international off-takers. Very recently, we sent a team to the United Arab Emirates. They have a very, very wonderful opportunity for the export of Nigerian meat, red meat, into the Gulf. We've also looking at other partners here in terms of dairy development. We have a large number of also foreign participants in the country. Okay. You can talk about Ala, you can talk about Nestle, you can talk about Freeland Campina, you can talk about Danone, and there are so many outside, and there are also a lot of local interests who also want to position themselves, to
align
take the pie
with Nigeria.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So we'll take a break, Honorable Minister. We'll pick up with the conversation. Do stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. The conversation is on ways to harness the livestock sector, and we have the Honorable Minister of Livestock Development. But Taraba State Government, we hear, has taken delivery of the 320,000 doses of livestock vaccines allocated to it by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security for the mass vaccination of animals against major transboundary animal diseases. Godwin Inalego reports.
The Federal Ministry of Livestock Development, through the Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support Project, LPRES, procured the vaccines for the control of transboundary animal diseases nationwide to support livestock productivity and food security in Nigeria. The State Project Coordinator of LPRES Taraba State, represented by Dr. Bonshia Dauda, received the vaccines on behalf of the state LPRES and handed them over to the Permanent Secretary of the State Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Mrs. Sarah Ali, for onward delivery. The vaccines include 250,000 doses of contagious bovine pleural pneumonia vaccines, 50,000 doses of Newcastle disease vaccines, and 20,000 doses of foot and mouth disease vaccines. The Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Sarah Ali, appreciated the federal government for the initiative and promised to utilize the vaccines for the purposes they are meant.
I want to thank LPRES who has always been collaborating with the state government to see that the ministry receives adequate support.
Members of the commission are going to do the needful and ensure that the livestock sector is upgraded, the livestock sector is transformed, the livestock sector is modernized.
L-Press is a World Bank-assisted project that aims at improving the productivity and sustainability of livestock farming in Nigeria. In Jalingo, Godwin Inalegu, NTA News.
Ranching provides better management of livestock towards improved breed and increased productivity, having the potential of ending farmer herder crisis. Niger State government has since realized this and is toeing the path to economic prosperity through livestock production. Fatima Usman reports.
The state has vast cultivable land that contributes significantly to the national policy on food security and sovereignty. Another component of agriculture the government and people of the state are developing is livestock, away from the traditional practices of open grazing. With a ministry for livestock since 2003, successive governments have continued to build on the successes of their predecessors to ensure success in the sector, thus leading to establishment of the Livestock Improvement and Breeding Center in Tawai.
You may have heard about the JBS Brazilian Company Initiative. His Excellency the President Tinubu have traveled several times with our governor, farmer governor Mohamed Umaru to Brazil. You know, those ones are desirous of coming in to partner with people in Nigeria so as they will produce beef.
To improve our indigenous animals, so we also key into that same program from the L-Press, which is also known as artificial insemination. So we had an approval of 1,000 cows to be inseminated in the state.
Water shortage, having pasture year-round, and management of diseases, however, remain hiccups in ranching communities that stakeholders are doing their best to mitigate. In Mina, I am Fatima Usman, NTA News.
And in Bayelsa State, we hear the government is working in tandem with the federal government to transform the livestock sector, recognizing its potential to improve food security. And just recently, there was an approval of 200 million naira monthly grant to farmers, which is a testament of the state's commitment to the vision. Ebinimi Zetimiola will tell us more.
Livestock farming is a major provider of protein. The sector creates employment. The federal government is reforming the sector for increased opportunities to farmers and for significant contribution to the gross domestic product.
Bayelsa State has high potential for poultry, piggery, even sheep and goats, because our vegetation, the terrain itself is lush.
The state has transitioned from nomadic herding to a controlled business-focused model. Ranches have been established at a Lebele Palm Estate to manage herder-farmer conflicts.
The issue of flooding is a recurring decimal in Bayelsa, so we need to engage the farmers to take advantage of insurance, which can de-risk the damages that climates could impose on a farmer.
By implementing these reforms, the livestock sector can be transformed into a prosperous and sustainable industry. In Yenegua, Ebinimi Zitimiola, NTA News.
All right, Honorable Minister, I'm sure you're hearing positive reports across states on what the state governments are doing to support federal government's efforts. But I'd like to pick up with the vaccination distribution. We know that has been flagged off, but sustainability and effective distribution to the right beneficiaries is very important so that these farmers can have access to it. What is the ministry doing to ensure that?
Thank you very much, and thank you for those reports from all over the country. It actually gladdens my heart that there is an organic connect between what we are doing at the federal level and what is happening at the state level. Of course, we are part and parcel of the whole narrative. Now, if you look at the transformation we have embarked upon, If you ask me to order 3 top priorities, I will first of all talk about feed and fodder, because that is basic. If you don't have feed and fodder sufficient enough for your livestock, you are not in livestock. You should have sufficient feed and fodder no matter the season, whether dry season or wet season. And that is what we are emphasizing about. And that's why it is top of our priority. The second one is about breed improvement. And now we've been with our own indigenous cattle from time immemorial. It's not their fault. It is our fault. We have not been able to, to deliberately improve their genetic potential. So this, again, is what we are looking at. And as of today, there are a number of, we have come up with some initiatives to establish 6 breeding centers across the country, covering all the species. So that means that we are going to leapfrog the productivity of animals from the current 2.5 to 3 liters per cow per day to 15, 20, 30, up to 50 liters per day, and that is achievable. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's about management, it's about getting the genetics, and then running along with it. Now, the third most important aspect is that issue of disease and health management. It is also very, very key. In fact, even if we have a good genetic breed, you also have sufficient feed and fodder. If your animals have these debilitating, diseases, they cannot, realize their genetic potentials. So we are focusing on that. And as at today, I can confidently tell us that we have distributed about 27 million doses of vaccines across the country, covering anthrax, FMD, CBPP, Newcastle, rabies, and just mention them. So this is what's happening. And the distribution is not just taking vaccine boxes and then giving them to state governments. No, we take it to the last mile. We have calculated and also embedded in our strategy even stipends that we are going to give to those who are going to administer the vaccines. And once these vaccines are administered, they are uploaded onto an Android platform called Kobo Collect. So whatever is happening in Bayelsa, in Niger, in Sokoto, in Abuja, in Taraba, in Benue, anywhere else, once it is uploaded, we can now tell you that we have done that. Today, if you query the Kobo Collect application, for anthrax, we have done 11 million animals vaccinated in the country. So that is the way to go. And we are not resting on our house. This is a continuous process. And then also we have today, under the auspices of African Union, and then also, furthermore, under the auspices of Food Agriculture Organization, Nigeria is a very, very strong participant in the program of eliminating PPR worldwide, particularly in Africa, by 2030. We are playing along with that. I was in FNO headquarters, I spoke with the Director General, and we have keyed in, and they have recognized Nigeria's potential role in eradicating PPR that is debilitating the small ruminant sheep and goats all over Africa. We have probably one of the largest population of sheep and goats in the country, about 124 goats, 124 million goats, and about 70 million sheep. So you can see that population is large enough. And also simply because the sheep and goats, virtually in every family in the rural areas, you find sheep and goats playing very, very key role in livelihood for the keepers. So we are conscious of the role of sheep and goats in our economy, and we are targeting the elimination of PPR from our landscape. So you can see that we are really concerned about transboundary diseases, because we are surrounded by a number of other countries through whom we get a lot of animals imported into Nigeria. And because of that, just a second, because of that, the ministry identified about 11 international cattle corridors coming into this country. We have taken inventory of those, we have taken the coordinates, and we are going to build control posts along each of these roads to make sure that animals that are coming to the country are properly screened and they are given certificate of health before they move into the country. Otherwise, once we vaccinate here and vaccination is not done there, we are not safe. So we are conscious of this, and we are taking definite steps under the ECOWAS Transhuman Protocol to make sure that our national space is protected from transboundary animal diseases.
You know, it's good you mentioned the concerns and the fact that the ministry is putting a lot of attention for this disease control. So let's look at abattoirs. I know from reports there are reconstruction ongoing for some of the abattoirs, but the concern here, Honourable Minister, is the handling of this livestock we see there, the animals, so to say. What is your state in that?
Thank you. I actually have a report of a committee that we set up about last year about animal welfare and human treatment. And that report has come. We are studying the report, and very soon we will launch a national campaign awareness on humane animal handling. It is cruelty to animals, the way we handle animals in this country, from the transportation, from the density in a small truck, even people who are hawking birds, you know, they hold the legs and it's upside down. It's inhuman, it is cruelty to those birds, to those animals. We are coming with that, and we do believe that it requires a whole ecosystem change. The vehicles that we have today in this country, the articulated vehicles that we call trailers, they are meant for general merchandise. They are not meant to transport livestock, whether small or large. We are coming up with a customized wagon for the transportation of animals. Number two, we will also insist that those wagons will carry the capacity is recommended by the manufacturers. There will be no congestion, there will be partitioning, and the distances will also have to be limited. Number two, at the abattoir point, offloading and unloading is another point of concern for us. Now, here, the abattoirs must have in their lightage a properly constructed platform where animals can just walk from those trucks into a holding facility. But of course, the trucks we are recommending will come with a hydraulically operated ram. Animals can just walk into the truck without even being lifted, without being harassed, without being beaten, and then they can also walk out on their own. So that way, you find that the animal do not go through any trauma, and in the transportation system that we have today, animals actually moving from point A to point B, they lose a lot of body weight. We call it morbidity. They lose a lot of some in fact moose, they lose as much as 20 kilograms. And that is a huge loss for the cattle merchant. So all these things have been mapped out, and we are coming out with a strategy to do some sensitization, stakeholder engagement with all the actors, with all the players, with all the value chain actors in the livestock sector, and make sure that we come up with a humane policy, a humane protocol for the treatment of animals, right from the livestock market to loading, transportation, offloading, and handling at the abattoir.
You know, Honourable Minister, we're rounding up, so in few seconds, I want to hear federal government's commitment to support this initiative you're talking about, because all the projects intertwined will require huge investments to be carried out. In few seconds.
In few seconds, the fact that Mr. President has created this ministry, we have continued to enjoy the political support of Mr. President and every principal staff of this administration. We have continued to enjoy the support of every state governor in this country. We have also gotten a lot of synergy from our international development partners as well as other private sector actors. Of course, yes, we have also enjoyed the support of very, very credible media organizations like the Nigerian Television Authority. I do remember the role this organization has been playing in ventilating out there into the public space the programs, the activities of the newly created Federal Ministry of Livestock. I mean, just look at the reports we have received from all over the country today. It cannot be better. So we are very grateful for this, and it has also helped us to change the narrative. Some of the organizations out there, they so emotionalized livestock. Here in NTA, we have seen people seeing beyond, all those conflicts and trying to build bridges, trying to normalize, trying to heal the public space by projecting the positivities that are there in the livestock sector. That is the way to get. That is about nation building. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for those kind words to the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll continue to play our part. And of course, we commend your efforts for the good work you do out there. Keep it up.
Thank you, Nigeria.
So much. Ruth, feels good to be back again. Let's begin with football. Kindness Ifeanyi scored for the Falconets as Nigeria beat Senegal 1-0 in Abeokuta in the first leg of the African qualifiers for the 2026 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Poland. The return leg of the third round is scheduled for Saturday, 14th February in Dakar, where the fierce battle for the fourth and final round of qualification intensifies. Let's go to the world of volleyball, where Python Spikers of Rivers State have emerged champions of the just concluded Yenagua Invitational Outdoor Park Volleyball Challenge, following a dominant performance in the grand finale, which held in Rivers State. Now, Rivers State-based Python Spikers stamped their authority on Paradise Pillars Volleyball Club of Cross River, winning 3-1 to clinch the coveted trophy and reaffirm their status as the best in this year's tournament. Correspondent Timini Pre Ohia reports. That's Bayelsa State Governor Doye Diri, represented by Sports Development Commissioner Daniel Igali, lauded the initiative, which placed premium on academic grants to participants and donation of volleyball equipment.
Team is the best. We are the best because we won the champion. We won the cup.
Last year we took 13th, I think, Paradise. Now we're taking second. That's a major upgrade if you ask me.
From what we have seen today, I think this is a great improvement from even last year's edition in terms of how they behave, how their team cohesion was, how individual playing capacity was also.
We need to give the opportunities for these young athletes to have a proper structure. That is what sports gives you.
All right, the tournament also held in honor of late Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, Lawrence Orojakbo. Let's go to Lagos, where Team Nigeria's push for qualification to the Davis Cup is back on track following a crucial victory at the Lagos Lawn Tennis Club. Daniel Adeleye reignited the country's hopes after defeating Uzbekistan's Abdulaziz Uzmoyonov in the second match of the World Group 2 playoffs. Adeleye came from a set down to seal 4-6, 6-2, 6-4 win. Earlier, Nigeria suffered a setback as Canis Abua lost the opening match 6-3, 6-3 to Uzbekistan's Kumayon Sultanov. The qualifiers continue on Sunday. World number 2 para-badminton player Eniola Bolaji alongside Chigozie Jeremiah and Chinyere Okoro have departed Nigeria for the Para-Badminton World Championship in Bahrain from February 8 to 14, with Bolaji coming off a recent gold medal win in Egypt. The Badminton Federation of Nigeria, led by Francis Obi, expressed confidence in the athletes' readiness after a month-long training camp, praising their form and the support of key partners of the athletes and federation. To the exciting world of the English Premier League, Manchester United's form and resurgence continued under interim coach Michael Carrick as they gathered more momentum with a 2-0 victory over 10-man Tottenham Hotspur in the early kickoff on Saturday. Elsewhere, Fulham suffered a home defeat to Everton at Craven Cottage, while West Ham claimed a vital win at Burnley. At the Emirates, Arsenal boosted their title ambitions with a convincing 3-0 win over Sunderland, strengthening their hopes of lifting their first league title in over 2 decades. Meanwhile, Chelsea under Liam Rosenio piled more misery and bottom-placed Wolverhampton Wanderers, pushing them deeper into the relegation zone after a 3-1 victory at the Molineux. And that's your sports. It's back to Ruth.